Music. Welcome to week 11, Big Pick 4, the show where the NFL handicapping gurus, Big Danny D, and sleeping baby Brian B, will give you the best 4 picks for Sunday's NFL games, to include the guarantee picks from Big Danny D and Brian B. The overall at 18 wins, 22 losses. We're still at a losing record for the season, with the guarantees at 2-8 for the Big D and even 5-5 for the Big B. So week 10 we had wins for the combined picks and losses for the guarantee picks. I think what happened there?
I don't know. I believe my guarantee pick was San Francisco, and
so we had. Let me cover this. So,
right.
the 2 guaranteed picks were favorites that lost outright to underdogs. Okay, that being the 49ers and the Bengals.
Yeah.
The 2 combined picks which were theoretically not the strongest picks, were strong favorites that won by significant margins, that being the Broncos and the Seahawks. What say you, Dan?
Well, we obviously got those 2 right. I mean, they were away favorites, which are usually tough to pick because they're away teams.
Good point.
Especially Seattle coming all the way across the country to play a 1 o'clock game in Atlanta. But Atlanta is so bad that I felt that was a solid pick. I really thought the 49ers would win that game. They only gave up 10 points to Carolina. Their defense played well, but the offense was horrible. And then the other pick, I don't know what happened. The Bengals had a chance. They got that miracle at the end of the regulation where that guy tipped the ball up in the air and the receiver caught it for a touchdown to tie the game. But then they ran some ridiculous play in overtime to the running back, a screen that just didn't work, but he kept running backwards. And they went for a 4th down, which I don't understand, but he kept running backwards and basically put Baltimore in field goal range right away after the possession was over. So he screwed it up. I mean, if that guy just continues to run forward, I don't know what happens. I don't think they try a field goal there, but at least it gives them a chance. But we had a chance in that game. It wasn't like it was an awful pick where Cincinnati got blown out. We had a shot. The 49ers, we didn't have a shot on that one. They couldn't score at all. So that was just a bad pick. But Cincinnati, I think, was a good pick. We just, unfortunately, came on the wrong end of that one. If they just win in overtime, then we get the pick.
So the 2 Super Bowl teams are not very predictable this season, are they?
No. It's interesting, though. Usually the team that loses the Super Bowl tends to have a tough season the season after losing it. Most of those teams haven't made the playoffs, or they do make the playoffs. They lose in the first round when you come off losing the Super Bowl. So it's almost expected somewhat. But I thought Baltimore would be a little bit better. But we didn't pick Baltimore, so it doesn't matter.
What was the deal? I mean, Baltimore has no running game, but yet they still win last week.
As I said, I think that basically comes down to Bengal incompetence. The 4th down play that they ran there was awful. They should have punted. They might as well just tried the long field goal instead of running the screen pass. And the guy compounded the issue by continuing to run backwards instead of just going forwards, falling down, and just ending the play. He tried to make something out of nothing, and he kept being pushed back farther and farther back. And I believe Baltimore got the ball on the 50-yard line, at which point you really only need maybe 17 yards to try to kick a reasonable field goal. And that's what happened. They got a few yards, they kicked the field goal, and they won the game. The Bengals they really lost the game more than the Ravens won it because they were trying to give that game away. especially with that play in the end zone at the end of regulation, when the guy just throws the ball up in the air and the guy catches it. It was really disappointing.
So we're still within striking distance of 500 on the season, but we're getting into the second half of the season, so we're going to have a strong second half of the season here. Hopefully these picks will come through for us. But as always, we'll start with the Week 11 Badge of the Week.
The Tennessee Titans, the entire organization, you lost to the Jaguars. I mean, come on, you lost to the Jaguars, the worst professional football team ever put together. It's incredible. Those guys were awful, and you lost to the Jaguars. I would have fired everybody after that game. That was pitiful. I couldn't believe it when I saw the score, what was going on. I mean, at one point, Jacksonville was up by like 10 points before Tennessee scored a garbage touchdown at the end of the game. That was awful. Now, granted, there are other candidates this week that I considered. He had Jerry Jones throwing Monty Kiffin completely under the bus, saying he should have fired Rob Ryan, which I thought was unfair and ridiculous. And then he had a guy who wrote an op-ed piece for a local paper stating that football should have been banned in 1905. So, I mean, he had those two people. But losing to Jacksonville takes the cake. I was really thinking that team could go winless, and I was kind of hoping for it because I think it's funny. But that was awful. That was just an awful effort. I don't care if the quarterback got hurt. That was ridiculous to lose to that group.
So then any team that loses to the Jags will be an automatic Badge of the Week for the rest of the season?
No, not necessarily. I mean, the team that lost to them first, I think, deserves that award because they shouldn't have lost them to begin with. Now they have, they might win another game or two here or there. Okay, I mean, I understand Houston is pretty awful. They've lost 7 in a row. They have a chance against Jacksonville, but to be the first team to break that offer, you get special recognition for that one because that was ridiculous. If Tennessee actually decides to play in that game, they would probably win pretty easily because they scored a lot of points in the second half.
What was the last team to go winless was the Lions for a whole season?
They're the only team to go winless in the 16-game schedule era. There's some other teams. The Tampa went 0-14, I think, back in the mid-'70s. And then there was a Redskins or Bears team. I forget what they were. Went 0-13 back in the 30s. But Detroit's the only modern era team to go winless in the season.
Well, it's funny because Tampa, where I live, everyone wants to fire is it Soriano and Schiano, and they said on Monday night that the radio guy I listened to, he says, now that I want them to lose, I know they'll win, and they sure as hell did.
Yeah, well, the coach might be out anyway. I mean, they have a lot of problems there with that MRSA thing, which is fairly serious. The team seems to be kind of, I don't know, some of the guys on that team really seem to be just going through the motions and don't really care. Like, I was watching Vincent Jackson play, and he was just sort of running routes and not really running the way you're supposed to. It seems like a lot of guys are just there collecting a paycheck. They're going to have to make some serious changes there.
Well, and Miami's not making any waves either.
No, that team, they didn't want to be there.
No pun intended.
Yeah, they had no interest in playing that game on Monday. That team's out of control. They have a lot of problems there. You have a bully and a wimp. I mean, it's tough.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
They're under scrutiny of the league. I mean, some guy named Ted Wells. I'm not sure who he is. He's interviewing everybody on the team and the coaches and the general manager and everyone to find out what happened there, what went on.
But that guy hasn't showed up as the Badge of the Week.
Who?
I mean, that was a shoo-in.
Jonathan Martin?
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to rip that guy. No, that's not fair.
Well, both his parents are lawyers, and he immediately walked away from the team, and he lawyered up, and you wonder if that wasn't his little game all along.
See, that's the thing. I want to know all the circumstances first. What really went down here before I can, you point a finger at somebody. What exactly happened? Now, I'm not saying Incognito's a great guy either. I mean, he's pretty rough. And he's kind of just like a big, I don't know, doofus. He's like a bulldog almost. Like the team told him to go sick this guy, and he did it without thinking. He doesn't seem real capable of independent thought. But
did you see where the Dolphins owner called off a secret meeting with Martin, and because the NFL told him to stand down?
Yeah, the NFL told him they want to interview him first before he got to him, so that way he couldn't coach him or couldn't say anything to him. They wanted to talk to him without him having any contact with the team.
Well, I think the NFL is worried about liability, and they're telling the guy, "Look, let us roll in with the big guns and handle this."
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what other issues there are. I mean, what if this guy has a serious anxiety problem? You know, some mental health issue. It might be a team, but it's still a workplace, and workplace rules still need to apply. So,
but that's bullshit, Dan, because
that's the way it works.
As you know, Warren Sapp went into the Ring of Honor this week.
Yeah.
At the Ray J, and he was interviewed on local radio this week, and he said, you talk about a workplace, it was commonplace for him. He was talking specifically about Incognito, and he said he was playing against Incognito, and Incognito's after every play is getting up in his face, nigger this and nigger that, and Sapp says to him, he says, "That's all you got? That's all you got to call me a nigger?" He says, "You know what? If you really wanted to insult me based on my race and fight me, you'd invite me to the locker room after the game, because then I'd take care of your ass. But I know you're just talking shit because you really don't want to fight me, because we could get it done if that's what you really wanted to do." But he says, "Look, it is hostile, I mean, that's just a fact."
I understand, but it's still a professional environment. They're paid employees. And this is with the teammates, not with an opponent. It's different. The locker room, despite the camaraderie and all this stuff, it still technically is a workplace and a work environment. And you still have to abide by certain rules. It's just the way it is.
Gentlemen, this is Dan, who works for a lawyer. So you see the perspective he's coming from.
Yeah, right. I'm just saying, I mean, part of it might be that this guy might have brought some of it on himself. I don't know. We don't know. The guy hasn't spoken to anybody, hasn't said anything. It would be nice to hear what everyone's story is so we can really get a better understanding of what's going on. We only hear bits and pieces. And the other thing I don't like is people are killing this Incognito guy for not saying much, but he can't say anything either. People seem to forget the liability here. You don't want to put yourself in a hole by saying something stupid.
Well, he did a good interview, a staged interview with what's-his-face from Fox News, and he said everything he could possibly say.
Yeah, he can't go any further. And Martin
can't go any further.
Has shut up too, which is probably the right thing to do. It just needs to play out.
I don't see Martin doing that. I don't see Martin at least doing some type of a staged interview where he says, "Hey, this."
You shouldn't do that. I mean, remember what happened to Jerry Sandusky? He gave some ridiculous interview with Bob Costas, and they used it against him in court because of all the ridiculous stuff he said about how it's okay to horse around with little boys.
I don't think that was a smoking. I think Sandusky would have gone down regardless.
True, but I'm just saying it doesn't help your case. Sometimes it's better just to be quiet and let the professionals take over and let the public relations people and your lawyers do the talking for you. That way you stay out of hot water. That's all. It's a shame it has to be that way, but it's probably best for everyone. It'd be nice when it's over already. It's enough.
So there you have it. The badge of the week is not the O-lineman from the Dolphins. It is your Tennessee Titans.
All right, me and Brian's first combined pick is the +1 at the Buffalo Bills. We are taking the Jets +1. The Jets are undefeated in odd weeks this season. They've won every odd week, so we're counting on them to keep the streak alive and beat the Bills this week. The Bills looked absolutely pathetic last week against the Steelers, who are not a good team themselves. E.J. Manuel coming back from a long hiatus due to an ankle injury or knee injury was awful. I think he completed 22 passes for 155 yards, which is really awful. To keep that in perspective, when Nick Foles had a 7-touchdown game a couple weeks ago, he completed 22 passes for 405 yards in that game. So it tells you how awful Manuel was. So I would go with the Jets. Their defense played well, coming off a bye week, so they have extra time to plan. And as I said, they're undefeated in odd weeks this season. And I think it's a very favorable matchup to them. It's a low spread. All they do is basically have to win. It's a pick 'em really. So I would take the New York Jets this week.
Have the Jets? I know they've won some games they shouldn't have won. Have they lost any they shouldn't have lost?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I don't really keep track of their schedule very much.
I mean, they've been doing a lot of like, what was the last game they played? I mean,
they beat New Orleans the last time
Yeah.
they did. So that was a good win for them. But as I said, for some reason, I don't know what it is, they're undefeated in odd weeks. I don't know how they're
now is that rookie quarterback getting any footing with them? I mean, is he starting to get his act together?
They don't. I guess a little bit. He doesn't turn the ball over as much as he did earlier, but they tried to run the ball. Last time they ran the ball 34 times with Chris Ivory. Tried to take the ball out of his hands a little bit. And their defense has played really well, actually. They get good pressure on the quarterback, and they play hard, and it takes pressure off them. They get decent field position. They've won that battle too, which is important when you have a young quarterback.
Are they going to be able to run against the Bills?
Yeah, I think so. But Pittsburgh is not a good running team, and they were able to run pretty successfully against the Bills. I think the Bills are starting to lose steam a little bit here. They had a good, first half of the season. Now I think they're starting to realize we're the Bills, and starting to come back to reality here. I mean, their defense is pretty good there, but
I think the Bills are Jacksonville North, aren't they?
no, they have victories. They've won 3 or 4 games this season. They're not that terrible.
How many Super Bowls?
At least they went to 4 straight at one point, and they don't have any. But at least they went there. Jacksonville's never been to a Super Bowl. But I like the Jets in this game. I think they can win, and all they have to do basically is win. There's no line really here. If they win by 1, it works. So.
Well, hopefully the Juice gets out of jail so they can put him in the Ring of Fame.
I'm sure they've already done that a long time ago.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I think they've done that a long time ago. If he's even still up there, I don't know if they took it down or not after his murder thing and the kidnapping conviction.
They didn't haul it off like the Joe Paterno statue.
I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't remember. That was a long time ago. I don't know.
Where is that Joe Paterno statue? Can you buy that thing on eBay now?
I think it's in the storage shed somewhere. It's like, did you ever see the end of I forget which Indiana Jones it is. I think it's Raiders of the Lost Ark. And at the end, the guy says, "This thing is being studied by top men." Top men, and they put the thing in a box in the National Archives somewhere, never to be seen or heard from again. Well, I think that's where the Joe Paterno statue is. It's somewhere you're never going to see it again.
I just remember the old Planet of the Apes where the Statue of Liberty, the head of the Statue of Liberty, and the arm was sticking out of the sand.
Yeah.
I think that's where they're going to see Joe Paterno's statue one day, like his head and his arm just coming out of the sand somewhere.
Yeah. No, it's
when the apes take over.
It was a big statue. It was this big thing. It was him, and then it was surrounded by all these bronze football players. It was a part of a little plaza, but they moved the whole thing with a crane. That was like the
first thing you saw when you went up to the entrance of the stadium with the Joe Paterno waving with the tie and everything.
Yeah, well, that's all gone now. You're never gonna see
never
it
to return.
Yeah.
They should have just sat that on his grave as like a tombstone. They could have got
this thing was huge.
Saved a little money on the headstone there.
This thing took up. I'm saying it took up a whole plaza. It was like 50 feet. It's a big thing. Poor guy.
They didn't even put an eternal flame there.
No, they have to forget that he was even there after what went down there. That was awful.
Please. So we'll have now our second combined pick for Week 11.
Our second pick has a similar theme to it. Green Bay at New York Giants. New York -4.5. We are going with the Giants this week. The Giants have won 3 in a row. They look a little bit better than they did at the beginning of the season, even though I still don't think they're that great. Green Bay's coming in really banged up. Jermichael Finley's out for the season with a neck injury. His career might be over. Aaron Rodgers is out with a broken collarbone. Their backup quarterback pulled his groin muscle, so he's gone for the season. They're on their third-string quarterback, who played okay and last week, and he got a week of practice in. One of their main receiver, Randall Cobb, he's still out. So Green Bay is pretty banged up. New York is okay against the run, which is Green Bay's thing now because they don't want to put everything on the quarterback. And as I said, the Giants are playing better. Giants are at home, and I believe they can defeat this Green Bay team by more than 4.5 points. If Aaron Rodgers are playing, I wouldn't feel this way at all. I'd probably go with the Packers. But because they're missing so many things here, and they're banged up on the offensive line, their center, I believe, got hurt last week, and they have to shuffle guys around, I believe the Giants will win this game and cover the spread.
And did they announce, is Rodgers out for the season?
No, he's going to try to come back by week 12, which is next week. But they might push him back another week and maybe come back for Thanksgiving. We'll have to see. They want to do some more scans of his shoulder, see how it's healed. It's been by the time the next game is played, it'll be 20 days since his injury.
This almost sounds like a trap line to me because the Giants have been so bad, and here they come in at a 4.5 favorite over a team that's outside of the Rodgers injury has done pretty well this season.
They got blown out at home by the Eagles last week. I mean, they lost by 2 touchdowns at home. I think they're a little vulnerable in defense, too. Their defense didn't play very well. And I said the Giants have been playing better, and the Giants can stop the run, which is important in this game. If they're playing as a different quarterback, I would think Green Bay would win if Green Bay had Rodgers. But because they're going to be running the football and the Giants are able to stop the run, I think it's going to give Green Bay a lot of problems.
We shall see. There you have your combined picks for Week 11 are in the books with your 2 New York, New Jersey teams. Your 2 New York teams, neither of which plays in New York. I remember my first NFL game at the old Shea Stadium. The Jets against Houston Oilers. Joe Namath was the quarterback. Where the Jets actually played in New York. I don't know where the Giants used to play when they played in New York.
They played at Yankee Stadium.
Oh, the old Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, they played at old Yankee Stadium. So both teams did play in New York at one time.
Yeah.
But that ended, I think, in the what was it, 1977? I think they opened the first Giant Stadium.
The Meadowlands.
And then I think in 1980 or 81, the Jets moved there.
Yeah, I remember the old Shea Stadium was open at the end.
Yeah. Well,
out that one end zone you could see out.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, that place doesn't exist anymore. That was awful. That place. What a dump.
I'm sure that's a nice part of town now.
It's a parking lot. It's been flattened. It's a parking lot. The new Met Stadium is right behind it. So you have Citi Field there, and Mershey was...
Oh, is Citi Field near there? Okay.
Right behind Mershey Stadium. It's like 25 yards beyond Shea Stadium. Wow. And then now Shea Stadium's a parking lot.
Well, Trump had that deal to bring he was trying to bring, the Jets over there to Manhattan Island at one point?
They had a $3 or $4 billion plan to build a stadium in Manhattan that was going to have a retractable roof and a retractable field so that they could also double as a convention center. And they were going to build 2 subway lines to go from one end of the island to the other. But that obviously didn't happen.
The Donald couldn't get it done.
No, and then nobody was going to go for that. It was going to cost way too much money and take way too much time. Instead, the 2 teams just paid for the stadium themselves together, and it was much easier that way.
Wow, so there you have it. We'll now have a word from our sponsor.
Me dieron los estudios. No voy a poder volver a bailar. Nunca más.
¿Querés?
If you don't know the right time to drink an Andes, now we'll let you know. New Andes with a temperature sensor.
And we are back for the second half of the Big Pick 4 Week 11 show for the Guaranteed Picks. Let's have the first guaranteed pick from the Guru, who is two. What are you? 2-8.
Yeah, more like the Buru.
The season 2013-14 Guru.
Yeah, I get the
Maybe,
done
let's see if are there enough games in the season where you can have a winning record?
Was there? No, I think if I went out, I'd have to be 500. No. There's one where it's 17 weeks, and I only have 8. So if I went out, I'd be over 500. It'd be 9 and 8.
That's it.
Yeah, that's
Going
it.
for the 9 and 8 season, Danny D.
All right. This week, for my guarantee pick, I'm taking the game San Francisco at New Orleans. New Orleans is favored by 3.5 points. I am taking New Orleans. That team just blows out everybody at home. I don't care who it is. They've blown out everybody at home. They're a different team inside that dome. Drew Brees has been great lately. The defense has played.
Drew Brees! Oh, yeah.
The defense has really thrived under Rob Ryan after being historically terrible last year under Steve Spagnuolo's direction. This year, Rob Ryan he plays a lot of nickel defense. Where they have 4 linemen, 2 linebackers, and 5 backs, and defensive backs usually 3 safeties. So they go with like a big nickel defense. And it's really worked. They've played very well, especially compared to last year. Last year they were awful, and it's mainly the same guys. So I mean, having a good coach helps sometimes. But they've blown out everybody at home, and San Francisco was awful last week. They can't throw. I believe they average 190 yards passing per game, which is dead last, or second to last in the league. Something like that. Saints put up 28 points. The 49ers have no shot at all at winning this game. And I don't think they will. I mean, it's a small spread, too, which I can't believe. I'm surprised the Saints aren't favored by 5 or 6 in this game, considering how terrible the 49ers are and how great the Saints are at home. So that's why I'm hedging my bets here in a possible losing season on the Saints, winning by more than 3.5 at home against a 49er team that's been struggling a little bit.
So you're at the break point of having even a chance to have a winning record. Keep in mind, Danny D did have a winning record last season with his guaranteed. So he's at what do they call that in tennis? A break point?
Yeah. Yep.
This is it, and it's sliding towards Dan's pick. So we opened at a -3, and we're at a -3 and a hook right now for New Orleans, being the favorites. Let's have the big baby B's pick, which will be presented in his absence. He's probably he's probably got some empty 40s lying around his bed with sweat stains on the mattress because he hasn't washed his sheets. He's got the TV on blaring. The neighbors are probably going to be knocking on his door about right now to tell him to turn down the TV.
He went to the bar. He went to Lucky 13.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he was here. That's where he called you from.
I didn't know he went to Lucky 13. I thought he was going home.
No. He was supposed to meet some guy from work, John Doyle over there, even though I don't think that he made it. He was pretty drunk. And then Brian was supposed to meet him over at Lucky 13. He left about, I don't know, an hour ago to go there, maybe an hour and a half ago at this point. And I guess he's there. I don't know. I guess if that guy wasn't there, he was just going to go home. Whatever. Anyway.
Coming to a local park bench near you. You'll see him in the morning, folks.
Yep, just look out for a guy wearing a black hoodie, and that's him.
I don't think he's going to make the SEPTA back to Collingswood tonight.
No, he's not going to make the train. Wearing his black hoodie and his pants without a belt. He's not wearing a belt today. His pants are starting to drift down a little bit.
The signs are already starting.
Yeah, right. Anyway,
the signs of the this is kind of on a different scale. What happened to Howard Hughes? There was a little signs along the way that told us this is where we're going to end up ultimately.
Anyway, the great Buru's pick this week is San Diego -1 at Miami. This is a 4:00 game on Sunday, which I think makes a big difference. So it'd be like San Diego playing a 1:00 game at home. So it shouldn't be that big of a deal playing at 4:00 for them, even though it is across the country, compared to a 1:00 game. Miami was horrible. Their coach is an idiot. They were completely unprepared for that game on Monday. They had no interest in playing on Monday. They ran for 1 yard on Monday. 1 rushing yard for the whole game. That's ridiculous.
You're kidding me.
What? No, 1 yard. They ran for a whole yard on Monday.
You're talking about the whole rushing game, the whole
whole game. The team had
was 1 yard.
1 yard. They had 1 rushing yard. That's it. I mean, that was awful. I mean, they lost to Tampa, who's winless themselves. They're terrible. Tampa was just willing to give that game away. But Miami couldn't take advantage of it, and I think they have a lot of problems. And they won't be okay until this whole situation down there is resolved, and everyone can start to relax and move on.
So wait a minute. 4 15-minute quarters. They couldn't take on the ground one big step, distance-wise. Not one step forward.
They kept getting these negative rushing plays. Tampa kept tackling behind the line of scrimmage for -3 yards, -4 yards. So by the time the game ended, it was a net of -1 yard. I mean, of 1 yard rushing. It was like the third lowest total in the history of the NFL or something. It was ridiculous. So anyway, we're taking San Diego. Philip Rivers has played really, really well this season. He's having a great year, even though the team isn't that great. Their defense isn't wonderful, but whatever. I think Miami is disinterested in doing anything anymore. I think the sails kind of got blown out of their season. And I think San Diego's going to have a good game. They still have a chance at a playoff position, so I don't think they're going to give up. So I see them. They're only 1-0 in Florida this year. They beat Jacksonville like everybody else had, except for the Titans. And Miami lost to a winless team, so they deserve to lose again. So I really think San Diego could win by over a point in this game. As I said, I think they've been playing better. They lost to Denver last week, but they actually played a pretty good game. They controlled the ball. They ran the ball well. Ryan Matthews has really come alive the last month of the season. Kendall, I forget the guy's name, Kendall Wright or something. I forget the guy's receiver there. Their new receiver who stepped in when Malcolm Floyd got hurt. He's played really well. Antonio Gates team has found the fountain of youth. He's playing much better. So for those reasons, and because the game's at 4 o'clock, which I think is really important, because teams from the West Coast tend to have a poor record on 1 o'clock East Coast games, I'm taking San Diego in this game.
Well, and Miami's coming off a short work week. I mean, what is Vegas doing with this line? I mean, this seems like bet the kids' college fund on this.
It started at -2, I think, and then it went down to -1 or -2.5. I forget, but it was going down to -1.
No, I had it starting as a pick'em, and now it's kind of leaning towards what you're saying that with San Diego as a -1.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know what it is, but I agree with you. You should bet everything on this. You know, sell your kids Halloween
what is
candy.
Vegas doing with this line? I mean, this should be like a -6.
You know, you should set up a fake turkey drive and then sell all the turkeys on the street corner and take the money and bet on this game.
Yeah, I mean, there's not enough time to start a new religion, you know, and get donations for it, but you could latch on to something that's already out there.
You know, I felt there was a lot of good lines this week. You know, there's a lot of games to choose from.
But you can't trust Vegas. You just wonder what they're up to.
Maybe.
You know, I mean, why is the Jets a pick'em? Why is San Diego a pick'em? You know, no, I mean the rest of the lines, like your other lines, like New Orleans and I can see, but then the Green Bay line, it's like the Giants is a 4.5 favorite
because of the quarterback. The quarterback's a third-string quarterback.
I know the reason, but still, there's you know, you still kind of say it's still the Green Bay Packers. You know.
I know they've lost 2 straight, and they haven't done a bad job against the run, and I just think the Giants will take advantage of some things, and Green Bay is going to be stifled a little bit.
what's the backup? What would you say the back? Who's the backup quarterback in Green Bay now?
Matt Flynn. They just signed him on Tuesday.
So this is his first game?
No, the guy who's starting is Scott Tolzien. He played against the Eagles on Sunday. But this is his first full week of practice as a starter. So he's going to get in there and play. But
I thought he looked pretty good.
He looked okay, but he threw 3 interceptions, and they had no real game plan for him. The Giants were able to game plan for him. He's still missing 2 of his better receiving options. And I think that the Giants are going to stack the box and dare them to throw over their heads. They're going to stop the run and say, okay, throw at us. And I'm not sure he's going to be able to do that.
Well, and as bad a time as Coughlin's had, I mean, at the end of the day, he's no dummy. You know?
No, he's not a dummy. Well, Mike McCarthy's no dummy either. But I just think they're going to have a hard time running the ball. Right. I mean, it still could be a relatively close game. It still could be like a 27-21 kind of game. I'm not saying they're going to get blown out here.
That's going to be a very interesting game to watch. That's a game number 2 on Sunday.
Yeah, it's an afternoon game,
not the late night game.
Yeah.
So you stayed away from the Sunday night game. What's up with that?
Well, I actually like Kansas City in that game. I think the weather out in Denver is supposed to be fairly cold, which doesn't favor Peyton. But he's mad. He's really not happy over last week what happened at the end of the game when he got hit low, and some people questioning his toughness and whether he's going to be able to play and all this other stuff. So, I think he's going to play well. But I just...
Yeah, but
that's a tricky line.
But think about this. You've been on the Kansas love train this season.
Yeah.
A 9 and a hook underdog. You wouldn't come in on Kansas. I don't think Denver can cover that 9.5 against your love train.
No, I agree. I think Kansas City can win that game. I agree. I think it's a very Kansas City friendly line. Their defense
or
is
even
excellent.
If Peyton pulls it out, it's not going to be by 9.5.
No, the Kansas City defense has been very good. They haven't given up more than 17 points in any game this season. I just don't know. It really depends on their defense. If Denver can score some points, Kansas City is in trouble because their offense is awful. They really are. They're not very good. Because their defense has been so good, Alex Smith really has not had to produce. And if Denver can score in this game, he's going to be forced to play well and try to produce some points, and he might have a difficult time doing that. Because they're just not explosive.
But where that line is actually coming from the health of the Denver coach, is it not?
Yeah, he's not there, but I'm not sure how much that really matters. They have enough people there with experience. Jack Del Rio was a head coach at one point in the league. It wasn't a good one, but he was a head coach. He has a clue of what to do. And Peyton Manning and the offense can run themselves. I don't think that's really a problem. It's not like John Fox is doing that.
Peyton Manning is a coach, basically.
Yeah, I mean, John Fox had nothing to do with the offense. Not like a Saints type of situation where you had a guy who ran the offense and he was missing from the equation. John Fox was mainly as a figurehead. You had Manning and whoever the offensive coordinator there is run the offense, and you had Jack Del Rio run the defense, and Del Rio's still there to run the defense. So I don't really see it as a big deal. And I don't know, I still don't trust Andy Reid. I mean, I don't know what it is. It just seems to come up short in big games a lot, even though I do like Kansas City's defense. And I probably would pick Kansas City if you had to put a gun to my head here.
Yeah, but just on a win, I understand that based on the spread, but just on a win-loss, who are you predicting?
They had a thing, I forget what channel it was, either the NFL Network or ESPN, looking at matchups of teams with a winning percentage like this playing against each other at certain points in the season, as late as this is. And the last 5 matchups, the winner of this game tends to lose in the first round of the playoffs, or second round of the playoffs. So you just don't make it too far. So if Denver wins, that could actually be a better omen for Kansas City in the future, because they play them again in 2 weeks at home. So I think it's probably more important for Denver to win, because they might lose that next matchup at Kansas City. But if Kansas City sweeps, then they control the division, and that's it. They're going to win the division. Because Denver would have 3 losses. I don't know. It's a big game. It'll be a good game.
Yeah, but I was talking about the Denver coaching situation, but that's actually the opposite because Denver's the favorite here.
Yeah,
So
I
they're
know.
not heavily on that.
But I'm just saying, I don't think it's that. I mean, I understand the guy is really just there to be a figurehead, to watch what's going on, yell at the officials, throw the challenge flag, and yell at everybody. I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think it'll be a bigger deal later in the season. Like for that second game against Kansas City, that could be a bigger problem that he's not there, because that's when you have to make adjustments playing a team a second time around, especially a team as good as Kansas City has been this year. And that's where you can really see it show up rather than the first game, and they haven't really seen each other yet. We'll have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, so you stayed away from that game.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a volatile situation, the Clash of the Titans. So what's on the line there is the undefeated season for Kansas, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that important to go undefeated. I don't think that really matters, but if they can somehow win this game and then win the game at home, the division's over. They're going to win the division because they would be, I guess it would be like 11-0 at that point, and Denver would be, let's say they win their next game, would be 9-3. And Kansas City might not lose 3 games the whole season at that point. And even if they do, it doesn't matter. They'll still win the division.
So that's nice commentary from Dan Shula, who says it's not important to win, to go undefeated during the regular season. Thank you, Dan Shula, for your input on that subject.
Hey, and almost every Super Bowl team that's won has not been undefeated, except for one. All of them have not been undefeated that win the Super Bowl. It's okay to go. There's been several 15-1 teams that win the Super Bowl. It's okay to go 15-1.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, you can still win the Super Bowl. Just ask the Patriots how that turned out.
So we will now have our Week 11 in absentia man violation from Danny D, standing in from Baby Huey, who's probably he's probably in a fight down at the where's that where they get the Philly the Philly cheesesteaks down there, the tourist trap.
Oh, Pat's and then Geno's across the street.
Yeah, Pat's and Geno's. He's probably down there in a fight as we speak.
No, you already ate a cheesesteak, so I don't know if he's going to have another one. But yeah, maybe. The big Buru, the drunk of Collingswood's violation of the week, the violator in chief himself, is men who do sports commentaries for women's sporting events, particularly the WNBA and women's golf. That's pretty rough if you were stuck doing that instead of some other sports. I mean, even if you do women's Olympic sports, it's okay. But I mean, the WNBA is awful. I mean, there's an exhibition game like 3 or 4 years ago where a boys' high school team beat one of these WNBA teams pretty handily by like 25 points. It was pretty awful. I don't know how you can sit there and watch that. It's not exciting.
How did the WNBA subject themselves to that abuse?
I don't know.
They actually took on a boys' high school team?
Yeah, it took on I think it was the New York team, if I'm not mistaken. They played against a New York boys' high school basketball team, and they crushed them. It was ugly. But, I mean, women's basketball is boring. It's not like men's basketball. We have dunks, and they beat up each other. It's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, but what about... I mean, what about John McEnroe commenting on women's tennis? I mean, what's wrong with that?
I don't know. Who knows what he says? That's different, though. Women's tennis, I don't know. Some people like to watch that because of the outfits that they wear. But stuff like, I don't know, women's golf.
But it seems to me like, for example, a man commentating on women's figure skating is a homosexual, so he gets a buy on that, doesn't he? Does he not?
How do you know the guy's gay? That's a rough assumption.
If you weren't gay, why would you be a sports announcer for women's figure skating?
What if that's the only job you could get, that you wanted to try to break into that type of thing, but that's the only job that was available?
Who's the guy? Did he ever come out as gay? The famous male skater
Scott Hamilton.
Hamilton.
I don't know.
What's his deal? Because I mean,
I don't know. I don't
he
pay
seems
attention to
gay.
these
I don't
people.
know. Is he?
I don't know. I don't pay attention. I don't know what these
Yeah,
do.
but it's very hip and very cool for women on field, or reporters on men's sports is very cool. And I'm all for it, except when that one woman got beamed in the head with a football.
That was funny.
I think she tried to take that to the bank, where she was like, the day of the game, she says, "Oh, it didn't hurt, And then once the lawyers got a hold of her, like the next day, she was like, "Oh, I had severe injury."
Yeah, she got a concussion.
Yeah, but the day of, she was like, "Oh, no biggie."
Yeah, she was fine.
Good.
I mean, her head was
It's a
probably
ball.
her hair is probably full of hairspray anyway. It's probably like a helmet.
Yeah.
So
It wasn't like a guy ran up to her with a helmet and bashed her in the head when she didn't have a helmet.
no.
It was football. You got beamed in the head by a football. But did you notice the change in her tone
No.
the next day?
Yeah.
When the lawyers got a hold of her, she was like, "Oh my God, I had trauma. I have concussion. I can't do my job. I can't function."
Yeah.
Someone got a hold of her.
Yeah, I know. What are they gonna do? Sue the guy? It was an accident. It was purely an accident. It was nothing. They didn't try to hit her.
Was it Rand Spears that got a hold of her?
Yeah, it did happen in New Jersey, so hey, it's possible. It was at the Meadowlands. I mean, we went 2 cases up there. It's a little far away.
What's the deal with men doing the women's sports? But it really shocks me. There's almost no women coaches coaching male sports, but yet if you go into like the high school arena, there's all kinds of men coaching women or girls basketball, men coaching girls soccer. It's like, what's that all about?
I don't know. I don't
get it. I'm a little bit iffy on that. Like if my daughter is playing soccer, it's like, why are all the coaches male here?
You think they're a bunch of molesters?
That's what I think. I think they're like trying to get some locker room visuals.
There was a coach just arrested.
Whoopsie! Oh, I didn't know. I couldn't come in.
There was a coach who was just arrested a couple days ago for I think he was inappropriately touched a couple of 13-year-old girls, and there was another one who touched a couple of boys, and they were both taken away by the police.
But they don't. Those same men that love to coach girls soccer and basketball, they don't seem to flock too much towards the softball for some reason.
Well, yeah, I think there's some reasons for that, but
the girls aren't as they tend to be like big, like.
Well, I just
burly.
don't think they could be as receptive to a man as maybe some other sports.
They'd be wise to that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think they really go for that.
So there you have your man violation for week 11. Is men commentating on women's sports. That we could write a book on this. Men commentating on women's sports. Men coaching women's sports. Why don't women coach men's sports? And I'll tell you, when I was in Little League Baseball, one of our greatest coaches was a woman.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know. I think it's reasonable. I mean, it's funny.
Yeah, it is reasonable. Why doesn't it work the other way? I mean,
next year the NFL is going to have a female official officiate games.
You are picking your, as the combined picks, you're picking your Jets and Giants, your 2 Jersey teams, and as the guarantees, you're picking your Chargers and your
Saints.
Orleans Saints. Place your bets and
score with Big Pick 4.
Yeah, she really close to that. I mean, I have a